Welcome to the podcast series Africast. Allow us to introduce ourselves. We are Jaimee,
Marius, and Patrick.
And we are students of the Technical University of Munich with different study backgrounds. Africa is an emerging continent. In particular, Ghana is one of the fastest growing economies worldwide. We would like to raise awareness for the academic environment in Ghana. But why do we focus only on Ghana? Last year, the Technical University of Munich established a scientific collaboration with different universities in Ghana. We have the impression that there's a lot of potential for more people to learn about this. So we hope that this podcast sparks your personal interest and that you share it with your friends and family if you liked it. And now, enjoy. Hello, Collins. Thank you for being here today. We know that we are in the middle of the exam period and we are very happy that you found the time to join us. Before I give the word to you, I would like to introduce you to our listeners. You studied during your bachelor's degree at one of Ghana's thriving business universities, the University of Professional Studies in Accra. During your national service, you worked as a teaching assistant at this university, and later you decided to move to Italy for your master's degree, and currently you're doing an exchange year at the Technical University of Munich, where we met you and found you. And yes, my first question would be, why did you decide to move to Europe?
Okay, so moving to Europe was one of my biggest aims, and it actually stemmed from the fact that I worked with European volunteers who came to Ghana in 2014, and having worked with them and also sharing my experience and they also sharing their experiences with me, it actually aroused my interest to broaden my international horizon. And I'm also a believer of international perspective, so I felt that to be able to do well in business and also in the near future I'll own my business in an international space, I needed to have more international exposure.
Sure.
Which is why I decided to study in Europe.
Okay. And are there maybe some unexpected similarities concerning your life in Ghana and in Germany, or to break it down in Accra and in Munich?
Okay, so one similarity I found was that everyone is having an effect of what is going on around the world. Talk of financial crisis, business challenges. These are common factors that are influencing how decisions are made by business leaders. For example, in Ghana, we also affected by the financial crisis.
By the worldwide financial crisis?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So this has also affected businesses in Italy, and I think in Germany as well. Culturally, there are certain differences. One notable difference is the fact that there is a kind of individualistic tendencies here as compared to Africa and Ghana, to be specific, where we have a very extended family approach, social life.
Okay.
Yeah, so for instance, in a family, you don't depend on just your parents, you depend on your uncles and your aunties for help. So when there's a challenge or an emergency, you have a lot of people to follow on, which I think is not the case in the Western world.
Yeah, it can be positive in some ways.
Yes,
to rely on more people.
Absolutely. And there might be advantages and disadvantages in both cultures. So I wouldn't say one is best, absolutely.
Okay.
But you just have to take lessons from each culture and see how best you can fit into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are your future plans? Are you planning to return to Ghana, or would you like to stay in Europe?
Okay, so I want to gain considerable business experience because I had only had about 2 years experience in managing office and also dealing with businesses as a result of my engagement with Invest in Africa and challenges worldwide. which were the businesses I worked with was in Ghana. And I feel this is not enough. I want to gain considerable experience. So I will fancy my opportunities here in Europe. And if there are any opportunities that come my way, I will take it. So I'm open for anything that comes, and I'm actively searching for business opportunities.
I think there are a lot of companies looking for international experts in this field, especially in the business field. So you mentioned you have an economic background. This is why I would like to talk to you today about the economy in Ghana.
Okay.
In fact, Ghana's economy is skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Ghana has the fastest growing economy in the world in 2019. This is what the International Monetary Fund expected. And Ghana seems to be the new economic frontrunner ahead of international leaders such as India or China. How could you explain the drivers behind Ghana's development and economic success?
I think that is incredible because in a few decades ago, the IMF described Ghana as one of the poorest because the economy was facing a lot of challenges. But fast forward, what you said is very true. I think the growth that we've seen in recent past is attributed to investment in the oil sector, which is actually becoming the major driver. We have cocoa. The cocoa sector is also contributing.
Okay.
And we also have the mining sector. Ghana is now the largest producer of gold. So
of gold?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, overtaking South Africa. So these three main areas are the contributors. And the challenge now is to be able to diversify the economy and also not depend on these sectors because there are lots of volatility when it comes to prices of gold and oil. So if Ghana is going to depend on these commodities, then I don't think sustainability is something that we can follow on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are those investments in the oil and mining sectors, are they mostly foreign-led? And which countries participate in the business in Ghana?
Yes. So first of all, when I would take cocoa. Cocoa is dominated by Ghanaians, and these are smallholder farmers. They start the production from scratch. But unfortunately, when it comes to the industrial level of this sector, we don't see much local domination because we are unable to process the raw materials ourselves. So we follow international investors who do the production. Okay. And we also export these raw cocoa beans. The oil and gas sector is also dominated by foreign businesses. Foreign notable include Eni, Ghana from Italy, and Tallow Oil, which actually started the first oil activity at Cape Trade Point.
Okay,
Yes.
It's interesting that it is an Italian company, not an American business. I think one would suspect that, but okay.
Okay, so I don't really see the impacts of that American angle to it. I don't know what. And those
foreign
is.
Investors, do they have to invest some part of their profits to other sectors in the country, or what is the impact on Ghanaian lives? Is it quite small, or does this trend create new jobs, or do the people have more money, or what would you say? What would the people say if you ask them on the streets?
Okay, so we have government sectors that are moderating, as it were, or controlling how these investments are brought. And we have institutions such as the Ghana Export and Promotion Council, the Ghana Free Zones Board. So there are rules and procedures. So investors coming in should have substantial amount of capital and also invest in certain areas and also undertake corporate social responsibility. So over the years, we've seen a lot of these investments, and Tallow, for instance, has a scholarship scheme which trains actually benefit about 50 students a year. I actually applied when I finished university. I applied to one of these scholarships, but I at a point I had to stop because I wasn't prepared, because I needed to get an English qualification, which at that time I wasn't prepared to take. So I dropped off. So these are some of the benefits that we are deriving from these corporate entities. Scholars training people in oil and gas, because what the plan is to involve a lot of local participants, local experts. So when we are training young people in oil and gas, in the near future, we'll have these people taking charge of our oil and gas sector, because it wouldn't be best if we continue to have majority of the players being foreign.
Being foreign,
yes,
of course. So there are a lot of investments in the educational sector by those foreign companies.
Yes. So by way of scholarships.
Which is positive, no?
Yeah, which is positive.
Okay.
So even if the people are not feeling it directly, for instance, having the money in their pocket, they're having it, indirectly, because they are funding your water sanitation. They are building boreholes in places where animals and humans fight for water, and this is not palatable. So there's considerable amounts of projects that are sponsored by these companies.
Okay.
Tullow, for instance.
When I read about this, I found out that startup companies are largely contributing to the transformation of the economy in Ghana. Are there some startups in Ghana that are particularly interesting? Are those also foreign-led, or are those young people from Ghana who would like to solve some societal problems? Do you have maybe some startups in mind you could talk about a little bit?
Yes, so this is a very interesting area, because it has been established that startups are very instrumental in the economy's growth. And as such, Ghana is not an exception. Ghana can boast of a robust regime, because we've had a lot of startups coming in, thanks to a very high mobile internet penetration. So these young people are looking at the opportunity created by these mobile firms and taking inspiration from it and creating a solution out of this. I would like to touch on this company, which I find very interesting. It is called Farmerline. Farmerline is actually an agro-tech firm.
So in the agriculture
sector.
Okay.
Because agriculture is the backbone of Ghana's economy. So
I think like half of the population works in agriculture.
Yes, it's very true.
Okay.
And to be able to harness the full potential of our grape, we needed to add some kind of innovation. Because the challenge we've had is that the farmers are not able to get the prosperity because they are supporting the economy, but at the end of the day, they are not getting the prosperity that is expected. Profit. So it's a challenge. So when Farmerline came out with this innovation, it was very interesting. What it did was to create an innovation whereby timely information on weather forecasts, farming inputs, market access are delivered to smallholder farmers at the right time and in the right form. One of the problem we've had was that we have weather forecasters. We have broadcasts made by Ghana Television, for instance, but these are made in English, and these smallholder farmers can't understand. Some of them cannot comprehend or understand. So what Farmerline did was to bring an innovation whereby these information are made in about 24 local languages, such that these local farmers can have them in the right form. So, for instance, I'll be at the farm, and what you need is just a mobile phone.
Does it work like a mobile app, or do you call somebody?
Oh, it's not a mobile app. The information comes directly to your phone.
Like a text message?
Yes, a text message. Now, they started by text messaging, but they upgraded with a voice message, because the voice actually makes it more concise and it's very direct. You get to understand your local language. They tell you what you're supposed to do. the weather for next 30 minutes or tomorrow.
Okay.
And you know when to grow and also where to sell your products, for instance, at the end of the farming season.
Is the service free of charge?
It's not free of charge, but it's very affordable.
Okay.
And because it's being supported by government, it's actually, I foresee a time whereby these services will be made free of charge, because I think it's going to help them.
You just mentioned that startups are supported by the government. Could you just briefly explain it to me?
Yes. So initially, it was a challenge. Capital was a challenge for most businesses. But now government has set up a ministry called the Business Development Ministry. And this ministry has a flagship program called the National Entrepreneurial and Innovation Plan, which is now the primary vehicle for support of businesses by way of capital. And in 2017, 7,000 startups were trained, and out of which 500 of them were selected for funding.
Okay.
And this is going to happen every year. So I think.
So do those startups get only advice from this ministry or also financial help?
Yes, so they're going to get capacity building. So advice comes in, and training is also part. So after training, there are potential ones that are selected, because Ghana as a whole has a financing gap. So we can't train, every entrepreneur. We just have to do it,
have to be
selected, so that as the economy grows, we are expected to generate revenue from the economic growth that we are seeing. And by this, we'll be able to spread the money across and support these startups, because that is the backbone, the future of Ghana.
Sure. I think we got a nice overview about the economy, the growth of the economy, the foreign investments and the startups right now. One project which would be interesting to conclude is the African Union.
Okay.
What do you think will the African Union meet for businesses, startups in Ghana?
Okay, so the African Union has a role to play when it comes to growing entrepreneurship and business in Africa as a whole. A lot of Africans have seen the African Union as a sleeping giant. We've not seen a lot of biting. They've not brought out policies that will inure to the benefits of the countries. But for the past 10 years, I can say from the research I've done that a lot is going on. One instrumental achievement, remarkable achievement I've seen is the launch of the Africa Free Trade Area, which is going to become the largest market in the whole world.
Comparable to the European Union,
absolutely.
Like a free trade area.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the model is similar to that of Europe, and we are going to have free trade. There won't be barriers amongst the states. We are going to trade freely.
So you would get access to more markets.
Exactly. And so Ghana, for the benefit that this will have for Ghana, for instance, is the fact that we're going to increase our market, because one challenge we've had is the market access, because Nigeria always beats us when it comes to market access. Kenya always beats us, Egypt. And it's actually a benefit that Ghana is going to derive, because a lot of startups will get the opportunity to sell to customers in Nigeria, for instance, Egypt, South Africa, Kenya. So it's actually a huge step to the total economic growth of Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's a positive growth for Africa.
That's interesting. Yeah. Okay, Collins, I think our time is over. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This was very interesting.
You're welcome, and I'm happy to have shared my views on this.
Sure. Thank you.